Mercedes Formula One head Toto Wolff has stated that he intends to reduce the number of non-factory teams racing with its engines from 3 to 2. In an interview published over the weekend, Wolff said that new expenditure constraints meant Mercedes was no longer making substantial amounts from giving engines to others. The Austrian said that the leasing engine business was not compelling and interesting, since the governing FIA had limited how much consumers could be charged in order to assist smaller teams. McLaren, Aston Martin, and Williams, as well as the title-winning works team of 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton and George Russell, are all supplied by the German manufacturer. The engines are designed and built in Brixworth, England. This season, Formula One teams are subject to a $140 million cost ceiling, which the larger ones seek to raise, owing to rising freight costs and inflation. In an ideal world, I would maybe see us +2, so actually downsize a bit, said Wolff. Mercedes provide engines to more teams than any other manufacturer, with Ferrari supplying Alfa Romeo and Haas, as well as their own factory outfit. Red Bull, like its sister team AlphaTauri, employs Honda technology to power its vehicles, whereas Renault solely provides their Alpine team. Red Bull is anticipated to sign up with Volkswagen-owned Porsche when new engine regulations take effect in 2026, while sister brand Audi is hunting for a partner and has been connected to all 3 Mercedes customer teams. Toto Wolff said, "Unfortunately, the business of leasing engines is not compelling and interesting because the FIA has put in a certain limit that you can charge your customers in order to protect the smaller teams." Wolff's remarks also coincide with a significant drop in performance for the works Mercedes team as Formula One moves to all-new ground effect chassis rules for 2022. The Austrian said he is content to keep 2 of Mercedes' 3 engine customers. "I'd rather have 6 cars, push the development further down the line, and then make 2 engines less because you need to produce 2 less plus 2 spares for every team," said Wolff. He did not specify if Mercedes' present client teams would be retained or discarded, although all 3 have been connected to Volkswagen's planned F1 ventures for 2026. In late 2019, McLaren struck a deal to return to being a Mercedes customer after its Renault arrangement ended the year before. Since it stopped using Mercedes engines, McLaren has failed to score a podium and its winless run stretches back to 2012, but Wolff believes McLaren's progress and F1's rule changes in 21 could present Mercedes with a serious challenge. Wolff said, "A new era is going to start in 2021 with compressed grids, with more competition, and we believe that from a PU side there is more learning for us in this exercise, with more competitive customers adding to the 2, Racing Point and Williams, that we have. And we rate McLaren strongly. The steps that Zak Brown, McLaren F1 CEO, and Andreas Seidel, McLaren team principal, have initiated certainly look very promising. The advantages outweigh the potential deficits of fighting a hard competitor like McLaren in the future. McLaren split from Mercedes, initially to Honda, because it did not believe it could challenge the works teams in the V6 turbo hybrid era. When McLaren and Honda separated, Mercedes was not interested in reviving its old partnership. Wolff only said, "The situation has changed a little bit, though McLaren's position as an established midfield team now may be a factor in that. As the tables here show, McLaren's dramatic slump as Mercedes' works team has thrived in the current engine era." But Wolff also said there were more arguments in favor of the deal than against it. "We learned it was an advantage having more power units out there," he said. "There may be a process and logistic question because everybody needs to be supplied at the same time, but there is more upside in it going forward. There is a financial upside, so it's a cash flow question, which is helpful on the power unit side. Overall, many pros. There is one risk in this, that if McLaren does a good job, they will push hard and maybe benchmark us in a way to say, that's the same power unit and you guys are not doing a good enough job. But where we are now, 7 years into the hybrid era, we are ready for that step. But with the new regulation in Formula One and Wolff's recent statement, will McLaren be the team they will be dropping going forward? We will know soon enough when the decision has been decided." After Mercedes-powered cars held the bottom 6 positions for the majority of the weekend in Bahrain in late March 2022, some of Mercedes' client teams and drivers alluded to some modest reservations about where their power unit ranked at the start of the 2022 season. McLaren's, Williams, and Aston Martin were in the final 6 cars on track at one stage, while the Mercedes factory team was driving over 30 seconds behind the leading Ferrari and Red Bull until a late safety car pulled them back into contention. Customers noticed the relative lack of performance from the Mercedes power unit when F1 entered an engine freeze for 2022 following a lot of work by manufacturers to acclimate to the new E10 fuel. This is an observation that we had already quite early, Aston Martin boss Mike Crack told media when asked whether Ferrari's power unit appears to be a step ahead of their Mercedes. But on the other hand, we see the Mercedes factory team finishing 3rd and 4th, so still, you can do the job. I think for us, the first thing is to build a quicker car before we go too much into that. Before we go too much into the subject, I think we should sort out our problems. I think the opposition has made maybe a bigger step, and that's something we need to catch up on. Nico Hülkenberg, who hopped into the Aston Martin in place of the unwell Sebastian Vettel at the time, stated the power unit did not have a lot of zip. "It seems sort of off today," said Hülkenberg, whose last handful of races was also with Mercedes power as he deputized on 3 occasions for Racing Point in 2020. "Even with DRS sometimes, I just wasn't catching people. We seem to be a little bit down on speeds on the straights." McLaren's Lando Norris was quite critical about the overall state of his MCL36, but also pointed to the Mercedes power unit as being a weak link in the chain. "You still have a Mercedes in 3rd and 4th, he commented. "I mean, it's definitely not helping. I think we're definitely lacking on that end compared to the other guys. But I saw some other problems with other guys as well, so reliability is good, and I guess that's a positive at the minute." George Russell, who finished 4th in his debut race as a Mercedes driver, believes the factory team's problems go beyond a lack of power. "I wouldn't necessarily say it's purely engine. There's a number of contributing factors," he explained. "I think we are quite draggy. It's a number of factors, and probably the drag level and the bouncing is contributing to it. It is going to slow you down because we're smashing into the ground rather than going forwards. I think the lap time deficit we have currently is about 50% on the straights and 50% in the corners." Mercedes boss Toto Wolff also seemed to hint that the perceived lack of power is down to different factors. "I think we need to analyze the drag levels first before we really make a judgment of whether we're lacking power," he said. "I don't think that there are big differences between the power units, but clearly Ferrari made a big step forward. Last year they weren't totally competitive, and today, if you look at the singular event in Bahrain, it looks like they've outperformed everyone else." Mercedes maintains that it and all 3 of its client Formula One team used higher downforce rear wings in Bahrain than the other engine manufacturers' teams. Ferrari appeared to be running with a bit less downforce and hence drag. The wing's outer edges sweep up further as it approaches the end plates, but its peak speed was nowhere near that of the Red Bull. The judgment is still out on which wing design produces the most downforce. I do not think it is as straightforward as it used to be with this curving wing shape to end plate design. "Do you get greater downforce or more airflow pouring over that top outer corner if you run the wing profile more horizontally as Mercedes did? In any case, all of the teams have sophisticated modeling systems in place to determine the downforce levels necessary for each circuit. So, if Mercedes really run more downforce than everyone else, it failed in that area. The lower drag Mercedes rear wing has already been spotted in Jeddah ahead of this weekend's Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. For a quicker track, you would anticipate a lower drag wing. However, I'm shocked by Mercedes' approach. Mercedes looks to have removed the gurney flap, which will make the rear unstable and braking a bit more difficult. Which of the teams do you think Mercedes will get rid of? Leave your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you for staying with me till the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like and share the video. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Bye!